to spend a few moments to talk about emotional regulation. I want to offer some of the psychology behind why we behave the way we do in the workplace, particularly in stressful periods of time, and also offer some hints and tips as to how you can help regulate your own emotional responses. Before I come on to those hints and tips and the psychology, I want to talk about the science behind the fight or flight syndrome. Sure, everyone's heard the phrase fight or flight. It's activated by physical and psychological threats. In caveman times, it would be the saber-toothed tiger appears. Do you take it on with your spear? Do you run away quickly? Modern world, for the likes of you and I, it's like to be manifest due to sudden deadlines, ambiguity, conflict or debate in the workplace, or work overload. So when the threat is perceived, the brain interprets that workplace pressure as a potential danger, and I'll try and get my pronunciation right on here, but at that point, the hypothalamus, probably terrible pronunciation, forgive me if you're a doctor, activates the nervous system. What happens at that point is your adrenaline, the immediate response kicks in, and the cortisol, your long-term stress response kicks in. What that results in is a faster heartbeat, potentially tunnel vision. Your mind might go blank. You get irritable, you get defensive. You might have the urge to argue. You might have the urge to withdraw and go quiet. What's happening in these situations? So why do some people fight and others take flight? Well, fight is more likely if the threat feels challengeable. Flight is more likely if the threat feels overwhelming. Your biology chooses the most successful option. It determines what's likely to be the best outcome for you. So the amygdala detects the threat, the hippocampus compares the situation to a past memory and context, and then the prefrontal cortex regulates and dampens the amygdala's alarm response. So in instances, if you've been in a situation before and you've dealt with it, you might feel that you're capable to fight back. If you've not faced this situation before, you're quite challenged and scared by it, you might default to the taking flight. Now, I know there are some concepts that say it goes much deeper than this, and say fear of snakes and spiders goes back to it ingrained in our DNA from caveman times, where that spider comes and bites you, you're going to get venom in your system. So you fly away quickly, and that response is ingrained in us. So I know there is some science beyond this, or some theories rather than science beyond this, but that is the basic concept of the fight or flight. Can we tackle back on the fight, on the challenge, or is it likely to be overwhelming? So what happens when we're faced with that sudden situation and we want to respond in an appropriate way? So one technique is the pause gap. The pause gap is pause when you're confronted with the demand, the challenge, for a handful of seconds. You can't control the situation that's been thrust upon you, but what you can control is the space between that stimulus and your response to it. Then breathe. By breathing, you're calming the nervous system. Reframe. This is happening in split seconds in your mind, but in those 1 to 3 seconds, pause for those 1 to 3 seconds, breathe, reframe what's actually being asked, what's the professional response, what outcome do I want to give. So shift your mind process from one of instant reaction to one of strategy, and then respond. And there's three response options. You can give a clearer answer than you may have done if you just responded instantaneously. You can say, actually, I need a bit more clarity before I can give you an answer. So request for clarification, or you can even say, I need to take that away. So you're not committing yourself to anything in the moment. So I'm going to need to take this away and think about it. So the power you now have is in choosing in response rather than defaulting to, I can do that, where you're panicking to give an alternative answer, or oh, I'm never going to be able to do that. So you're just giving yourself that time to breathe, reframe, and respond appropriately. Now, when it comes to stressful situations, there are emotional and physical cues. We may notice in certain circumstance we're suddenly irritable, or we suddenly get defensive, or it makes us anxious and such. We can see those physical symptoms. They are sometimes disproportionate reactions to something that may be fairly minor, but our reaction has kind of manifested itself straight away, probably based on deeper past associations. So try and look out for those things that trigger you. What are the patterns? What are the situations you face? Well, I find I'm always doing this. I'm always going into my shell when I'm faced with these situations. If you can look and reflect on that, you can start to notice those patterns. So also pay attention to what your internal narratives are. I'm not good enough, or they don't respect me. I'm losing control here. They're judging me. These can all be triggers, and you may be coming from a place where it's not quite accurate in how you're interpreting things. So look at what set me off. What was I afraid might happen? What did the situation remind me of? What part of me felt exposed or criticized? So if you do find that you reacted and afterwards you're reflecting on it, turn that reaction into one of reflection so you can learn from it and look out for those behaviors going forward. So often when we do look at things, we might look at things through a lens that isn't fair to ourselves. We might think, oh, I really messed up that presentation. I might think, oh, I misworded that last slide and oh, that could have gone so much better. But reframe it of did a good presentation and I handled that part relatively well and I can learn from it accordingly. So if you are find that you are in that kind of negative mindset, name the pressure to neutralize it. It's called cognitive labeling. This is a pressure, it's not a danger. I'm stressed because the stakeholder is changing the scope again. It's shifting the situation from the amygdala region of the brain, the emotional response, to one of reasoning. So it's not I'm not good enough. This is something new that's come up that I wasn't expecting. Shift from threat mode to control mode. So ask yourself grounding questions. What is the part of the situation that I can control now? Make the cognitive that's been stated one that's move it from overwhelmed mode to action mode. Always assume positive intent to reduce defensiveness. If someone comes at you and they're being overtly direct, maybe a little bit too aggressive, this is about the pressure they're under potentially. It's not about you. So move that to there's a reason why they're behaving like this. It may not be appropriate, maybe landing really badly with me, but try and show that empathy to say this isn't a reflection on me. This is what's going on in their world at the moment. They're under pressure. Physical part, anchor yourself physically. If you're caught in the moment where someone is challenging you in whichever format, feet firm on the ground, straight posture, loosely clench and unclench your hands. Don't obviously put your hands up in a boxing stance, but that loosely unclenching and unclenching your hands, it's helping to stabilize the nervous system, and it's signaling to your nervous system that it is actually a safe environment that you're in. And use calm phrases. Let me take a moment. I want to give the best answer I can. So can I clarify before moving in moving forward? In instances where things are getting a little heated or a little bit over the top, here's some de-escalation tips. Firstly, for yourself, regulate yourself. Slow exhale, relax shoulders, calm tone. You can't de-escalate if you yourself are triggered. Acknowledge the emotion, but without taking the blame. I can hear this is important for you. I can see this has caused frustration. Slow your pace and slower your volume. Calm pace reduces the other person's adrenaline. So just tone it down is taking control of the situation and leading others to do the same. Ask those grounded questions. What's the key issue right now? What's the outcome you're looking for? What's good going to look like for you in this instance? Use that we language. I talk about this in one of my other sessions. It's not us and them, it's we. We're all in this together, so let's look at it together. We all want success from this. So here are the options going forward. Find the underlying issue. What's the real concern behind this? There might be some explosion that's being dealt with, but there's something else that's really driving this, and this is a reaction to or manifesting itself because of some other circumstance. Set those calm boundaries. I'm here to resolve this. Let's stay focused on one issue at a time. You know what people are like when they're enraged or they're full of energy on things and just want to get it all out. Try and slow it down so you can focus on one issue at a time rather than this big mishmash and it's all escalating because of that. Summarize back what you heard. It is reducing the intensity of the moment, but it's also showing that you've understood what's been said and what's been asked. Provide those next steps. Here are the options. What one's going to work best for you? Often our stakeholders don't want to have to make the decision themselves or come up with the solution. So offer them solutions to give them the choice to decide which way we go forward. And if needed, pause. Let's take a short break here. Let's reconvene. We'll make better progress if we take some time out for a few moments. Unfortunately, we can often find ourselves in a victim mindset, but a victim mindset is a thinking trap. It's not a personality trait. It's a state of mind, a thinking trap. It often shows up due to the high demands we're under. I'm feeling acted upon, or there's been shift in priorities. So there's that instability that's causing anxiety for us. There's ambiguity. So I'm frightened I'm going to do the wrong thing. There's limited authority. This is out of my control. There's political pressure, so I'm going to retreat into safety. Take an ownership mindset. What can I influence here? And I talk about influencing in other sessions. I can move this forward by what options do I have here? It remains a difficult situation. There's no getting away from that. But you're visualizing the choices, which is reducing the feeling of helplessness. So victim mindset, very much the column on the left, things like, oh, we weren't given enough information. An ownership mindset, here's what we know, here's what's unclear, here's what we need in order to proceed. We've been left in the dark again. We need clarification. Let's get it. No one ever listens to us. We need to influence this. Let's prepare a clearer response accordingly. And finally, celebrate problem solving behaviors, not just outputs. Stop catastrophizing. Fact check your thoughts. What do I know for certain? What am I assuming? Catastrophizing weakens when evidence is examined. Separate feelings from facts. Ask, is this a feeling or is it a fact? Sometimes something can feel urgent or dangerous, but it might not be the case. Create middle case scenarios. We often talk about the best case, the worst case, but what's the realistic case? What's the realistic case? Think about that, and it's almost always manageable. Take a control step. What is the next useful action I can take? This reduces fear and restores that agency and that control. Use the future you perspective. What would the me in 6 months say? What would a calmer version of me say? Would they say, why on earth are you worrying about that? Hey, relax. Quick rescue questions. What else could this mean? Am I treating a possibility like it's a certainty? And if a colleague told me this, what would they say to me? What would I say back to them? And as with before, don't forget to use the pause gap. Replace that worst case thinking with realistic thinking. And with stress relief, energy and recovery management, make sure you are getting good sleep, exercising in the day, hydrating in the day, have a good diet. These are all going to help with your energy recovery, but a good night's sleep, it does help that mental recovery. Support structures, debrief as a team, have that peer validation, escalation protocols if necessary, and have those informal interactions, those kind of water cooler moments, as the Americans will say, and talk about with your safe space conversation peer group. You can talk about your pressures. It will just help you to de-stress and open that valve to remove some of those stresses. There are lots of tips online about breathing exercises for anxiety. Probably the most popular one is the 4-7-8-8 technique as displayed on the screen here. So 4 seconds inhaling deeply, hold your breath for 7 seconds and exhale through your mouth for 8 seconds. And remember, it's okay to not be okay. We're expected to be super people in the workplace. Sometimes it's going to be tough and tense. And one tip I would say when you're seeing that with your colleagues, don't say, oh, you'll be all right, you can handle it. That doesn't actually make you feel any better in the moment. But phrases like, when you look back on this, you'll reflect on it and you'll make sense of it. It does come together in the long term. These things won't last forever. Use the support mechanisms that you have. Use some of the tips that are given here, and that will help make it more comfortable to be able to manage the stress.